This video covers a few pros and cons of two common approaches to overlanding. One is setting up a base camp, and the other is overnighting at different locations over the course of a trip. As you can see in this video, my usual approach is to set up a base camp. Lately, those base camps have been at our property in a forest in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So one of the obvious benefits of this approach is I can set up a fairly extensive and elaborate camp with a lot of amenities. The downside would be if I'm just going to go somewhere distant the next day, I have to take all that back down. So of course part of the decision as to whether you're going to establish a base camp or just have different locations over multiple nights is how interesting is the base camp location for starters. So in our case, fortunately, this property is on Lake Michigan. It's in the Stonington Peninsula of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So there's probably years worth of things to explore just from this particular little base of operations. So in this video, you'll see me doing a variety of things. I'll give a quick little tour of the camping setup once it's set up. And you can kind of see some of the things I'm doing, trying to get the property set up to continue to support those kind of base camp operations. Now in my case, I have no desire to do anything more than primitive camping, so I'm not going to establish a vault toilet or anything else like that. What I've got pretty straightforward. I've got a privy to basically deal with using the restroom, and then I've also got a separate sort of privy that I use for the shower. Some of these trips I don't set up the shower just because they're short trips and the weather's pretty cold. But again, if this land weren't in an interesting location, this wouldn't be nearly as much fun. Although in any case, if you set up a base camp, you can have your campfire and things like that, and kind of think of other fun outdoor activities you might do at a base camp. Now there have been times when my wife Kathy and I have been just on a journey somewhere. So for example, last summer we went out to a bluegrass camp out in Montana. So I did have to modify my gear a bit to enable me to set it up and take it down quickly. So that's obviously the other challenge of thinking about if you want to just do a quick camp overnight and then move the next morning. In a pinch, my full setup takes less than an hour, but typically it'll take me between an hour and 2 hours just to get it all set up. And then over the course of the camp, probably familiar with the experience, you take out more and more things as you need them. Whereas during an overnight, you just want access to your cooking utensils, your food, and a place to sleep. So we do take a very different approach, and I pack the vehicles very differently if I know we're just going to be doing a few overnight stops where it's essential to get the camp set up and take it down quickly so we can maximize how much distance we can cover. And of course, there's every possible combination in between as to how elaborate you want your camp to be set up, depending on how important it is to cover distance versus relax and enjoy yourself at camp. Now you can see in these videos we use an M416 military surplus trailer as our overlanding gear hauler and support for our rooftop tent. Now that gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of how much stuff we haul. So you can see I've got 10 gallons of extra fuel on the tongue of the trailer. Inside the trailer there are 4 jerry cans, 2 non-potable water, 2 potable water. There's a framework there of T-slot aluminum I use to mount a shovel and the Pull Pal winch anchor. And then I've got some little hand winches I use to raise and lower that whole structure onto that ladder frame. So a 4x6 bucket trailer gives you quite a bit of room to store gear. So in these stills you can kind of see how I engineer the pack out. Inside there are ammo cans with smaller gear, 3 large tubs, a 20-pound propane cylinder, and of course the 4 jerry cans. Depending on how much extra stuff I bring, I can typically throw the bedding in there for the tent and just use it to kind of engineer the load and pad things. So when it's all loaded up, it's a few hundred pounds on top of the trailer itself, but nothing the vehicles can't handle. All right, taking a little break from chainsawing. Ran out 1 tank of gas, and frankly I'm kind of pooped, so I may not do any more today. I might just relax Realized I never took any video of my campsite. Constantine was here late this morning. He's set up over in the meadow. Daniel's coming later tonight. We'll see where he wants to set up. So a few changes. Other than I've never camped in this particular spot before. This is kind of nice. Is those Dometic water dispensers. Super awesome bit of gear. So that works out really nicely. So I got one hooked up to the non-potable, one hooked up to the potable. And that's all there is to it. Pretty cool. Pop the lines in the jerry cans. And then the line is long enough to reach the other one. So I don't have to lift jerry cans out of the trailer anymore necessarily. We figured this out last time, put the fridge on the tray in the back, put the battery underneath the trailer to protect it. We had problems with it last time, still not sure why, but it's working fine this time. And of course the USB, that's for the tent lights. We're charging things up overnight in the tent. Bought some Amazon special folding made in China legs, which are actually really good. And that replaces the little pipe legs I used to use. There's my fancy schmancy paper towel holder. So again, I don't spend a ton of money on gear. I just find stuff I like and I use it forever. But I think since I last camped, those are a couple of the changes. Replacing the pipe legs with folding legs, which makes it way easier for me to set that up by myself. The water dispensers, those are probably the biggest ones. Other than that, a lot of it's just getting better at organization. Like my wife said, it'd be nice if in large print we knew what was in the tubs. I thought, no, that's easy enough. So I did that as well. One other advantage to a base camp is the ease of logistical coordination. So if you've ever been part of or tried to organize a trail ride with multiple overnight stops, you know that it's kind of hard to keep the cats herded. One thing that's nice about having a base camp is if friends are going to join me, it's relatively easy to guide them in and to figure out where to meet each other, etc., because it's a fixed location, especially if they are repeat visitors. And there's Constantine cruising down the trail from the far end. Looking good. There you go. Nice. Yeah, you got plenty of clearance. Nice, and that's something you don't see too often. That's the V8. You got plenty of room on this side. I don't know if I left you enough room. You may want to just wait there.
Yeah, I'll just wait. Yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
This is amazing. I mean, it's more going.
Going well. I've got some muffins for you. It's perfect. I can.
Oh, wow, yeah. We were going to stop by there, so perfect.
I can.
Timing.
We'll get Daniel some video of his assault on the hill here. Yeah, very good. Yeah, it made it all right. Didn't even drag the back. Yeah, a little bit. Just hit the hitch a little bit there on that last log. I don't think it did any damage. Look, it just pushed the cap out a little bit. Oh, perfect.
So we were going to start exploring and then probably like heading further north and west later today.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, I've just got a couple. I just drove up because I got a couple muffins in the car for you guys. There you go. Yeah, perfect. Oh, it popped your bumper a little bit there. I don't know if you're concerned.
No, I do have I have ski plates.
Okay, I think it'll pop right back in. I'm just noticing the plastic popped up on the sheet metal there in the left front.
Oh, from this thing here?
Yeah, this jobber right here.
It's already scratched, so it's not.
Oh, okay. Okay, you got a scuff there already.
That's
Okay.
why I haven't fixed it yet. So
No problem. Looks like it'll pop right back in.
yeah.
Perfect. You're fine. It just rolled one of the logs. You'll climb over it. Yeah, it's rotten. You're just kind of crushing it. It's fine. Yes, yes. No, I agree, and they would have popped under your undercarriage and I should get just a little bit of the action. They're just going to pull up and out. And that is a nice look at Sparky with the sway bar disconnected. And again, it just rolls through this trail with absolutely no issues. But that was impressive that Daniel got his Subaru through some of these obstacles. This one, Constantine was complimenting him on his driving for being able to manage the independent rear suspension. One of the wheels popped up, but he very calmly navigated his way through it. And of course, the 4Runner, it's no issue at all. But I think Daniel and Constantine had a little fun driving the forest trail. One important decision to make if you decide to use a base camp as part of your overlanding strategy is how much time do you want to spend improving it. When I lived in Minnesota, I used to ask guys, what are you doing this weekend? And they'd say, oh, I'm going up to the cabin. And I'd say, oh, to fish, to hike, what are you doing up there? And they said, no, working on my cabin. So one thing to avoid is putting yourself in a situation where you're just maintaining two residences. So in our case, we do need to make some improvements. So a smart friend who has a similar strategy out in Missouri said, you need to buy a tractor. So these are some stills of Tractor Smurf, who at some point in the next few weeks is probably going to go up on a trailer once I find a decent way to set up a simple, probably canvas shed out in the woods so we can use him to haul rock, clear snow, and the like. All right, I'm going to call that success. A few hours yesterday, a few hours today, still managed to visit with nice people and have fun. But I basically cleared out enough room here. We can definitely camp here. And I kind of think it would work to put that temporary shed for the tractor was thinking either like tuck it back in that corner or right in here. Now we're going to have to put down wooden panels, either like, just plywood, or I'm thinking more like planks nailed to other planks and just plop them down, even pallet wood, so that when you do camp in here, you're not constantly breaking your ankle. Eventually, when I finish the trail, thinking maybe bring in lake rock and just kind of make a mound here. That'd be kind of more natural and it would drain normally. But got rid of the deadfall and the leaners. Now, by way of contrast, I have some stills and a simple video from when we did drive across the Dakotas to that camp in Montana. And you can see it's a much simpler camp. We basically just popped open the tent, secured it down low. What you can't see on the other side is where we had a simple table and our camp stove for meals. Well, we're up bright and early at the campground. A few minutes to clean up, pack up, and on to Montana. So as you contemplate your own plans for how you intend to enjoy the hobby of overlanding, hopefully this simple contrast gives you some ideas. Again, we've pretty much made up our mind. We will have the occasional long trip involving quick overnight setups. But for the most part, we spend our time improving that little bit of land in Michigan so that we can establish a nice, comfortable camp there. Still a primitive camp, but a nice, comfortable camp, and use that as our base for either entertaining friends or exploring the many beautiful areas of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It's also good to remember that when you camp out in the woods, there's no telling what kind of exciting new friends you may meet.